This is where the forge glows hottest. You stand before the raging fire within, the surge of anger, the icy grip of fear, the hollow ache of betrayal. To become untouchable is not to extinguish these flames, nor to deny their heat. It is to stand unflinching as the blacksmith of your own soul, shaping the molten metal of raw feeling into something strong, purposeful, and entirely under your command. Forget the brittle man who shatters at the first harsh word, or the volatile one who erupts like a poorly capped volcano, scalding everyone nearby and leaving only ash within himself. Their weakness lies not in feeling, but in being enslaved by the feeling. The untouchable man feels the sting just as keenly. The insult lands, the loss cuts deep, the injustice burns. But where the brittle man cracks and the volatile man explodes, the untouchable man observes. He creates a crucial space, a sliver of silence between the spark of provocation and the fuel of reaction. In that space, he is sovereign. Imagine this space not as emptiness, but as a high citadel within your mind. From its ramparts, you witness the chaos below, the churning anger, the swirling anxiety, the seductive whispers of self-pity without being swept down into the fray. You see the emotion for what it truly is, a signal, a surge of energy, a physiological storm. It is information, not an imperative. The untouchable man asks, not, "How dare they make me feel this?" but, "What does this feeling reveal? What primal chord has been struck? And crucially, what response serves my purpose, my dignity, my long-term peace?" This is the alchemy, transforming the base lead of raw, reactive emotion into the gold of conscious, chosen response. Anger, when mastered, becomes fierce resolve to protect what is yours or correct a wrong. Fear, when understood, becomes sharpened vigilance and meticulous preparation. Grief, when allowed its course without drowning in self-destruction, becomes a profound deepening of compassion and a testament to what was truly valued. This mastery demands relentless honesty. You must stare unflinchingly into the dark corners of your own psyche. The insecurities that masquerade as outrage, the laziness disguised as resignation, the hidden wounds that scream for validation through aggression or retreat. To command your emotions, you must first know their names, their origins, their hidden agendas. It is the hardest reconnaissance mission, conducted within your own borders. And it requires discipline, a constant practice of pause and reflection, a refusal to be hijacked by the immediate surge. Remember, every time you react impulsively, every time you let fury dictate your words or despair dictate your inaction, you surrender a piece of your sovereignty. You hand the reins of your inner kingdom to an external event, to another person's whim, to the chaos of the moment. The untouchable man holds the reins. He feels the storm, acknowledges its power, but steers his course with a steady hand. He understands that his true strength lies not in the absence of feeling, but in the absolute command of its expression. His emotions become servants, powerful and vital, but never the master. This inner citadel, this space of command, is where untouchability is forged, hammer blow by conscious hammer blow, on the anvil of relentless self-awareness. Untouchability is not declared in grand pronouncements. It is built in the silent, unseen hours. It is the relentless architecture of daily discipline, the mortar that binds the stones of philosophy into an unassailable fortress. Forget the dramatic gestures. The true warrior sharpens his blade long before the battle cry echoes. This discipline is the quiet rebellion against entropy, against the lazy drift of the masses towards comfort and distraction. It is the conscious choice to do what is necessary, consistently, especially when no one is watching, especially when every fiber of your being screams for respite. It begins with the body, the temple you inhabit. not for vanity, not for the admiration of others, but because a neglected vessel is a liability. The untouchable man commands his physical form. He moves it, strengthens it, rests it with purpose. He understands that clarity of mind is often anchored in the vitality of the body, that the exhaustion of neglected flesh is a chink in the armor through which doubt and fear can easily seep. He eats not merely for pleasure but as fuel for his purpose, respecting the instrument he has been given. This physical rigor is not punishment, it is profound self-respect. But discipline extends far beyond the physical. It governs the mind's diet. What thoughts do you allow to take root? What information do you consume? The untouchable man is fiercely selective. He guards his attention as a king guards his treasury, knowing that scattered focus is diluted power. He seeks knowledge not as idle entertainment, but as tools for understanding and action. He cultivates deep focus, the ability to immerse himself completely in the task at hand, undistracted by the trivial clamor of the world. This requires saying no, constantly, ruthlessly, to anything that does not serve his core purpose or nourish his inner stability. It means turning away from the seductive glow of endless distraction, the shallow validation of digital applause, the gossip that erodes integrity. Discipline is the bedrock of integrity. Your word becomes iron. Promises made are promises kept, primarily to yourself. You align your actions with your stated values, even when inconvenient, even when costly. This internal consistency creates an unshakable core. People learn that your yes means yes, your no means no. There is no room for ambiguity, for manipulation, for the shifting sands of convenience. This reliability builds immense inner trust. You know unequivocally that you can depend on yourself, and this self-trust radiates outward, becoming a silent signal of strength that others instinctively recognize. The undisciplined man is perpetually at war with himself. Intentions clash with actions, desires conflict with commitments. He is easily swayed, easily broken, because his foundation is sand. The untouchable man, forged in the fire of daily discipline, stands on granite. He meets the day not as a victim of circumstance, but as its architect, one deliberate, disciplined action at a time. He understands that freedom is not the absence of constraint, but the product of self-imposed order. The discipline of the unseen is the silent engine of the untouchable life. Loss, betrayal, failure, suffering. These are not deviations from the path. They are the path for the one who seeks to become untouchable. The common man sees them as enemies to be avoided at all costs, proof of his misfortune or the world's cruelty. He rages against them, drowns in self-pity, or collapses under their weight. The untouchable man sees them differently, as the crucible, the fire, the raw ore from which his true strength is smelted. He practices not merely endurance, but transformation. This is the highest alchemy, turning the lead of pain into the gold of wisdom, resilience, and profound inner power. Consider the wound. The weak man picks at it, infects it with resentment, lets it define him as a perpetual victim. He wears his suffering like a badge, demanding the world acknowledge his pain. The untouchable man tends the wound with ruthless honesty. He cleanses it, acknowledging the hurt, the injustice, the depth of the cut without flinching. He examines it, understanding its cause, his own role, if any, and the lessons embedded within the scar tissue. Then he allows it to heal, not by forgetting, but by integrating the experience into the fabric of his being. He does not ask, "Why me?" He asks, "What does this reveal? What strength must I now cultivate? What illusion has been shattered, making way for clearer sight?" Betrayal, that bitter poison, becomes a masterclass in human nature. It strips away naivety, revealing the stark realities of self-interest and frailty in others, and sometimes in oneself. The untouchable man does not waste years in vengeful scheming. He extracts the lesson and moves forward, his discernment sharpened, his boundaries fortified like castle walls. Trust, once freely given, becomes a carefully considered currency, bestowed only on those who demonstrate true worth. This is not cynicism. It is clarity born of fire. Failure, the specter that haunts most men, loses its terror for the untouchable. He understands that failure is not the opposite of success, but its essential tutor. He dissects his failures with the cold precision of a surgeon, identifying the missteps, the miscalculations, the weaknesses exposed. He learns, adapts, and returns to the fray, not diminished, but hardened and wiser. He embraces the iterative nature of mastery, knowing that every stumble reveals a weakness to be strengthened. Suffering, in its many forms, becomes the great leveler and teacher. It strips away the superfluous, forcing a confrontation with what is truly essential: your character, your values, your inner resources. The untouchable man meets suffering not with denial or desperate escape, but with a profound acceptance that allows him to navigate its depths without drowning. He discovers reserves of strength he never knew he possessed. He learns compassion not as abstract theory, but as a visceral understanding born of his own trials. He sees that within the heart of darkness lies the potential for the most radiant light, the light of indomitable spirit, forged only in such extremes. This alchemy is not passive. It requires active engagement with your pain. It demands you sit with your discomfort. In a world drowning in noise, the clamor of opinions, the shrill demands of attention, the constant hum of distraction, the untouchable man cultivates a profound and powerful silence. This is not mere absence of sound. It is an active, strategic, and deeply philosophical stance. It is the silence of the mountain peak, observing the storms below. It is the silence of the deep ocean, undisturbed by surface tempests. It is the silence of contained power, of unspoken understanding, of impenetrable inner peace. Understand this: your words are not merely sounds. They are arrows loosed from the bow of your spirit, carriers of your energy, your focus, your very essence. The untouchable man knows that frivolous speech is a hemorrhage of power. Gossip, complaints, idle chatter, the compulsive need to fill every void with opinion. These scatter your energy, dilute your presence, and expose your vulnerabilities. He guards his speech with the vigilance of a sentry. He speaks when necessary, with clarity and purpose. He understands that often the most potent response is a measured silence. When provoked, when baited, when faced with the petty aggression or desperate neediness of others, the untouchable man does not rush to the verbal battlefield. He retreats into his inner fortress of silence. This silence is not weakness. It is a formidable defense and a devastating weapon. It denies the aggressor the reaction they crave. It allows the emotional dust to settle, revealing the true landscape of the situation. Within this silence, he observes the motivations of others laid bare, the weakness behind their bluster, the manipulation hidden in their words. He sees what others miss in their haste to respond. This silence is also the fertile ground for deep thought and unwavering focus. It is in the quietude that strategies are formed, insights crystallize, and true self-awareness flourishes. The untouchable man carves out sacred spaces of silence in his daily life. Moments of meditation, solitary reflection, walks in nature devoid of artificial noise. He actively disconnects from the digital cacophony that fragments attention and frays nerves. He understands that constant input is a form of subtle violence against the soul's need for integration and depth. Furthermore, his silence extends to his internal world. He masters the art of quieting the incessant, anxious chatter of his own mind, the doubts, the fears, the replaying of past slights or future worries. He learns to observe these thoughts as passing clouds, not the immutable sky. He cultivates an inner stillness that remains unshaken by external turbulence. This inner silence is the source of his unflappable calm. It allows him to hear the subtle whispers of intuition, the quiet voice of wisdom that is drowned out in noise. It is in this profound silence that he connects with something larger than the immediate drama, the enduring rhythms of nature, the vastness of existence, the core of his own indomitable spirit. The world will try to shatter your silence with its demands, its alarms, its trivialities. The untouchable man rebuilds it, moment by moment, word by withheld word, thought by observed thought. His silence is not emptiness. It is the resonant fullness of a life lived from an unassailable inner core. It is the ultimate declaration of sovereignty over his own energy, attention, and peace. In a shouting world, his quietude speaks volumes. The culmination is not a destination, but a state of being. An invisible fortress meticulously constructed stone by stone through the principles lived. The mastery of reaction, the embrace of fate, the strength found in solitude, the command of emotion, the relentless unseen discipline, the alchemical transformation of pain, and the sovereign power of silence. This fortress does not exist in some distant, ethereal realm. It is built within the very fabric of your daily existence, right here, amidst the chaos you once believed could break you. To become untouchable is to finally inhabit this inner citadel. From its heights, you witness the world with startling clarity. You see the games people play, the desperate scrambles for status, the fragile egos demanding validation, the predictable cycles of conflict and complaint. You see the storms rage, personal setbacks, societal upheavals, the inevitable betrayals and losses inherent in a life fully lived. But you are no longer in the storm. You are no longer buffeted by every gust of misfortune or swayed by every wave of opinion. You are anchored within your own unshakable reality. This does not make you cold or detached. On the contrary, it allows for a deeper, purer engagement. Freed from the exhausting burden of reactivity, from the desperate need to control the uncontrollable, from the terror of discomfort, you possess a reservoir of energy and attention previously unimaginable. This energy can now be directed consciously, purposefully. You can love more deeply because your love is not a frantic need for reciprocation, but a chosen gift flowing from your abundance. You can act more decisively because your actions spring from clarity, not from the turbulence of fear or anger. You can create with greater power because your focus is undiluted by the noise. Compassion becomes genuine, born not from pity or obligation, but from the profound understanding of shared struggle that your own journey through fire has granted you. You extend it freely, but without the draining entanglement of trying to fix others who have not yet chosen their own path to the fortress. You understand that true help often lies not in solving another's problems, but in embodying the strength they might one day seek for themselves. The world continues its dance. People will still attempt to provoke, to disappoint, to project their chaos onto you. Loss will still come. Pain will still visit, but the impact is fundamentally altered. It lands, yes, but it lands on the solid ground of your inner fortress, not on the shifting sands of a reactive, undefended self. You feel it, you process it with the tools forged in discipline and self-knowledge, you extract its lessons, and you integrate it. It does not define you, it refines you. The untouchable man is not bothered, not because he is ignorant or numb, but because he has relocated the seat of his power. His peace, his worth, his stability are no longer contingent on external validation, favorable circumstances, or the good behavior of others. They are rooted deep within the bedrock of his own being, cultivated through relentless inner work. He walks through the world with a quiet assurance that unnerves the insecure and inspires the observant. He is present, engaged, yet fundamentally unreachable by the petty manipulations, the fleeting dramas, and the corrosive negativity that ensnares lesser men. He has learned the ultimate secret. The world only has the power over you that you grant it through your attachment, your resistance, your uncontrolled reactions. By mastering these within your own citadel, you step beyond its reach. You become like the deep ocean current, unseen from the turbulent surface, yet moving with immense, unstoppable power, shaping the very depths. This is true freedom. This is becoming untouchable. The storm may rage above, but within the fortress there is an unassailable calm. You have arrived. Now the work is to dwell here, consciously, every single moment, for the rest of your days. This is not the end. It is the beginning of living, truly and powerfully, from the unshakable core of your own sovereign being.